This is America's Forum on Newsmax TV. I'm J.D. Hayworth.
And I'm John Bachman. J.D., earlier we talked with Professor Mark Knuckles, our man in Moscow, as we call him, a correspondent we've been checking in with back and forth about the situation living there. He was telling us that you really can't trust the Russians, and there's more evidence to suggest that and perhaps prove that. It looks like Ukraine, of course, is still a long way from resolving its conflict. It's dividing the country into two separatist regions. Many people are asking, who are the gunmen occupying the Ukrainian government buildings across the eastern region of that country? Well, now the Ukrainian government has released these photos. They say clearly identify the same group of men acting on behalf of the Russian government. The Russian Special Forces soldier seen in these pictures was also seen in Georgia back in 2008. Also, Russia involved in the, trying to unrest that country there. This is a photo of a photo reconnaissance unit in Russia, shows individuals later photographed operating in towns in eastern Ukraine. Vladimir Putin appeared on Russian television, as we talked about here last week, saying there were no Russian units acting or special services in the Ukraine. We, held back our laughter at that point, but the U.S. State Department says the Ukrainian evidence, of course, is convincing right now.
Well, someone who can help clear this up for us is the former United States Ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton. Ambassador Bolton, we welcome you back to America's Forum. We were speaking with an American teaching in Moscow earlier in the program, and he said Vladimir Putin cares not a whit for American public opinion or opinion in Western Europe. Putin is going to be Putin and continue to do what he's doing right now. Do you see it basically the same way, sir?
Yes, I think Putin has a strategy here. He knows what he wants. He wants to reestablish Russian hegemony within the space of the former Soviet Union. He's calculated what he thinks he needs to do to get it, what cost he's willing to bear. And what he sees so far is American and European weakness. So if anything, I think Putin has actually upped his objectives in this confrontation because he doesn't see anybody pushing back.
So with that in mind, what do you see happening next? Do you expect more full-scale military action on the part of the Russian Federation?
Well, I think that's possible, and it's certainly consistent with what's happened in the past few days and really the past few months. But I think Putin's overall objective is not necessarily to take more territory, although that's available as a fallback. I think what he wants is dominance over the Ukraine and the other former republics. That gives him control, but doesn't bring the burdens of having to deal with the faltering economies of these countries. So the way the events have played out in the past several months, it gives Putin the option, either in the case of Crimea, for example, to take what he wants, or to continue pressuring the government in Kiev to bend its knee to Moscow's demands.
John, let me switch to another troubled area of the world. Tomorrow, the Citizens Commission on Benghazi will announce interim findings and new leads. This committee will address whether the Obama administration ignored Muammar Gaddafi's desire to seek exile prior to the Benghazi attack, if the U.S. government played a role in the arming of al-Qaeda and its terrorist allies, why military assets were not deployed immediately to come to the aid of those American citizens, and why Republican and Democrat leaders continue to ignore repeated efforts to put together a select committee to investigate the attack. Do you expect any new revelations or new reactions to come from this event tomorrow?
Well, it's hard to say in advance, but I do believe that there's so much we don't know about Benghazi, both what led up to the establishment of the consulate without adequate security, the failures of the Obama administration in understanding that Libya was really descending into a series of camps for al-Qaeda. What actually happened on September the 11th when the attack began, I don't think the administration has ever really explained why it didn't do more. It's never explained, just as an example, why, by their own admission, after the attack that day, the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton never once spoke to the Secretary of Defense, Leon Panetta. Never once. I've worked for 6 different Secretaries of State, very different people. It just there's no way those 6 secretaries of state, each in their own way, wouldn't have been working the phone all night long. And then after September the 11th, the administration has still not explained why there's been no retaliation, no retribution, not even any arrest of those who murdered those 4 Americans. I mean, this is a real record of failure, and the amount of information that we don't know, I suspect, is still far larger than the little we do know. So I'm in favor of any new information we can get out there, but we have to be honest with ourselves. We've got a long way to go.
John, maybe it's unfair to ask it this way, but do you marvel at this administration's ability to deal with disinformation prior to the presidential election and the comparative meekness on the part of the national media to try to get the facts out about Benghazi? Would this have happened? You served Republican presidents. You were the UN ambassador to George W. Bush. If he had been in charge and Benghazi had happened, what do you think the press reaction would have been to that?
They would have been all over him. Look, the press bias in this country and the mainstream media is something I think we've seen for decades. It still amazes me that the American people aren't more outraged about it. We ought to take the headquarters of the news organizations of the 3 broadcast networks and move them to, Des Moines, Iowa, or someplace. Get them out of New York, get them out of the bubble, send them to Idaho. Maybe that would be better, so that they can understand what the rest of the country feels. The alternative is for people simply to stop paying attention to them, which may be the only way out. Go to cable news, go to talk radio, go to the internet.
Or come right here to Newsmax TV, John.
You can do that too, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, John, we're not the media, we're Newsmax. Mindful of that, about a minute left. We're going to give you a chance to make news here today. Are you willing to throw your hat in the ring for 2016? Are you ready to run for president? Come on, you can tell us.
No, but I tell you what I am doing is I formed a PAC and a super PAC to help House and Senate candidates this year who believe in a strong American national security policy. I think it's critical that we get more leaders in the House and the Senate to oppose the weakness of the Obama administration, and because I think the 2014 congressional elections are really going to set the table for 2016. We get the kind of leaders we deserve. We've got to get people activated. We can't have another Barack Obama as president.
Sounds to me, John, like you're running, but I know that's not an official announcement. Listen, we appreciate the time. Look forward to our next visit. That's Ambassador John Bolton, who may have his eyes on higher office. Don't let your eyes leave. We're coming right back on America's Forum.
Imagine